I was just relentless. Like I found this group of men that would walk with me and mentor me, and they didn't look down on me because of the things that was going through or that I'd been through. And it just so happened they were doing a little pickleball get together in DFW at the Chicken and Pickle. Not a shout out by any means, but and one of my ruck friends, the guy that's in my forum named Rod Rodriguez, I will shout out to him. He said, "Hey, why don't you come ride with me?" Stopped in, got in the car with him. I was riding in the car with him. He goes, "Hey, why don't you get your license and come work for me?" And I was like, "Man, I know nothing about security." He goes, "Dude, I promise you, I'll walk you through everything. I'll help you." So that's what started it, man. He walked with me. That's the power of a mentor right there. Like he walked with me and just showed me step by step and never left my side and showed me grace where I needed it and just kept giving me the knowledge. And it wasn't very long. And I remember him saying something that was so strange. It was foreign to me. But he said, "Man, I've been doing this for 27 years and I don't understand how you know how to do that." He's like, "This is so natural for you. I just don't get it."
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Big Hitters Podcast. I'm joined by Jerry Jones, a friend of mine from Rise Up Kings, who has done multiple different things in his career, but at present is working in the private security industry, which is interesting. He has done security work for politicians, for NBA stars, and so I'm really excited to dive into it with him today. And this is just a totally different industry. I don't know anything about it, so Hopefully we'll learn some things. Jerry, tell us how you wound up where we are today. Like, tell us the story a little bit.
Man, that's a good one. First of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And man, I would say I've thought about this answer quite extensively, actually. And I would say by the grace of God, quite literally, is how I've ended up here. You don't know what you don't know through life. And I think throughout life, I've tried to do things my way more often than not. And if I had time to tell you the entire story of how I ended up in the security industry today, I could say it's only by God's grace. My last 2 years, primarily, if you had read the book of Job and you track that, you would be like, man, there's some odd similarities to the book of Job and then to my life today. And I think this too, God builds us for a specific thing. Now, he might have to transition you through things to get you to that thing, but I believe that everyone's born with a purpose, right? And depending on what you went through in your life and what things you focused on, there will be a time, I believe, that the Lord will be able to plug you in where he needs you. So that's really how it happened for me.
I love that. Well, tell us about the industry a little bit. I don't even know how it works. So, how does number one, get into that space? And number two, where do the clients come from and how do they, what do the contracts look like? Is it a 3-month thing, a 6? What does that typically look like?
Well, so the quick version of my story is I had done martial arts my entire life since I'm probably 19 years old. And I have second-degree black belt in Taekwondo. I love any combat sports like jiu-jitsu and things like that. And I'm kind of have that mind where I stay busy thinking about scenarios. My wife thinks I'm off track sometimes, but it's just how my mind works. It's like I'm constantly trying to put these pieces of the puzzle together. And so, short story long, about 2 or 3 years ago, maybe, I came down with Lyme's disease, and I got bit by a tick, and slowly over the period of about 3 months, I almost went blind. My ankles, joints, I couldn't hardly bend my ankles, couldn't hardly step to walk. I was quite literally sleeping 16 hours a day. I just could not wake up. Yeah, it was terrible. And obviously that put a strain on my finances, my home. I was a professional horse trainer at that point. I had trained horses for 15 years on the highest level in the NRCHA. And at that time, when I had quite literally, my wife actually filed for divorce. I was living in a camper on a lot that had no running water, with my 15-year-old daughter living in there with me. And at that point, it's funny because I just stayed up with Ruck. I just kept going. I was just relentless. Like, I found this group of men that would walk with me and mentor me, and they didn't look down on me because of the things that was going through or that I'd been through. And it just so happened they were doing a little pickleball get together in DFW at the Chicken and Pickle. Not a shout out by any means, but and one of my Ruck friends, the guy that's in my forum named Rod Rodriguez, I will shout out to him. He said, "Hey, why don't you come ride with me?" Stopped in, got in the car with him. And in the security industry, there's multi different levels. So you have level 2, which is unarmed, and you do have to wear a security uniform, but it's unarmed. So I would relate that to, like, say, a mall cop kind of a situation, right? That's something that people would be able to relate to. A level 3 is armed, so they would look like a police officer, but they would have to have a uniform on. So you have to be uniformed. And a level 4 is, just business casual, and you can be armed, and you can still go residential while you're guarding someone's home, or you can go into the where you're actually guarding an individual. And so at that point, my business was down. Man, I actually signed up, was doing Uber and Lyft. Like, I had pretty much, like, I honestly had no direction. I did not know what was coming next. And I was riding in the car with him. He goes, "Hey, why don't you get your license and come work for me?" And I was like, "Man, I know nothing about security." He goes, "Dude, I promise you, I'll walk you through everything. I'll help you." So that's what started it, man. He walked with me, and it might have been a little longer than that time frame, but nonetheless, walked with me, told me where to go get my license, got my license. The process was fairly quick. It didn't take a long time, which was a little unnerving because I'm like, man, I got people's lives in my hand, right? And I'm like fixing to go out and do something. So I had him walk with me, and that's the power of a mentor right there. Like, he walked with me and just showed me step by step and never left my side, and showed me grace where I needed it, and just kept giving me the knowledge. And it wasn't very long. And I remember him saying something that was so strange, it was foreign to me. But he said, "Man, I've been doing this for 27 years, and I don't understand how you know how to do that." He's like, "This is so natural for you. I just don't get it." Well, it took me back to, again, I believe that the Lord builds us for things, right? And I've always felt like a shepherd type, sheepdog type, right? That watches over people. And I think there's two parts to it. One part, there was some trauma in my life, like my biological mom left when I was 5. My stepmom was pretty abusive, verbally, mentally, physically. And then my dad was filling in the financial pillar, but was missing out on some of the other pillars, right, that we know now. And so therefore, providing financially, sure, but there was a lot of things that I didn't get to learn because of that. And so what that entailed turned me into, when I found martial arts, it created this postured up individual that wasn't going to be hurt anymore. Yeah. And so that's kind of how I got there. But yeah, how do you get the business? Really, a lot of it's word of mouth. There are a lot of, I would say, mixers and ways that you can go and meet people in the industry. And I find that connection with other people is how we get the contracts. But quite literally, I've worked on details where people just wanted you to sit at the front door for 2 weeks because there's always a threat. Sometimes it's valid, sometimes it's imagined. It's imagined, but there's always a threat. That's what calls us out into action. Yeah. But yeah, man, I was fortunate enough to move. I've worked on some for Disney and Hulu, and I've worked with some NBA players. I've I've worked with. It's really quite interesting where the Lord will put you when you're available, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, presently I'm on a campaign that is a gentleman that's running for Senate here in Texas, and I actually worked with him on last year's run as well. And yeah, it's just a blessing, man. It's something that I'm truly passionate about. I love it. I find it not to be. I know some people look at it as a job. I know this, right? And what I find it to be is that I see it as an opportunity to possibly meet and speak to people that don't know Jesus, right? And I don't go at it from a Bible thumping, spitting scripture at them, which is what I used to do actually, strangely enough. But what I've learned through Ruck is you can do it just by showing them love, and I find it to be very rewarding.
Well, what is the typical duration of a contract? So this politician, I'm assuming it's tied to his campaign.
Yeah,
right?
so obviously it'll be contingent to how he lands in the primary. If he wins the primary, then he will go on and finish out till November of next year. So this contract could be upwards of 14 months. Some of them are 3 days. I've had them to where they've come in. I've picked them up, from the FBO, which is the private jet, airport. Pick them up, drop them at the airport, take them to an event, drop them back off, and then they're gone. And maybe you never see them again. I think the ideal, or the dream, is to get in with a customer that wants to keep you full time. I would say that's probably the dream.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, it's always contingent. There's really no, unless you were with some kind of government agency, I don't know how. I haven't figured out how you would be with one customer long term, unless they were a really high profile client, which they're out there.
Yeah.
But it hadn't happened for me yet. I've had some really good contracts. I think I've enjoyed. That's the other part of it too, is it allows me to exercise my faith that the Lord will provide the next contract.
Yeah.
And so far, I haven't wanted for anything. It's like He's provided the next one every time.
Yeah.
So
Jerry, is it your company? Did the mentor take you under his wing and then you started your own thing?
Yes, he, for the most part, as an owner. But no, I'm just an employee, man. It's a new dynamic for me too, because I've always been my own boss. And so I'll say this. He said something to me when I started that I found, and I kind of took it to heart. He said, come up with ways to create value. Don't be a liability. And I was like, man, that's so good, because that's what I would want as an employee, right? If I was running this business, that's what I would want. And so, but no, it's been really interesting. Like he's leaned on me because of the details feedback, the assets feedback, or the customer's feedback. He's allowed me to come in and like write SOPs for the company and really dive in on how to grow the business. And so we're constantly working in that realm. And it's still his company. It's not my company. So yeah.
So you call the client is called an asset.
Yeah, I mean, you would call the client the principal, the asset, the Mr., the Mrs. We try not to use their names, because most of the time, if you were to use their name, they're on commercials, or there's some high profile individual, and so in this industry, in this industry, you can't be. There's no selfies. There's no proof.
Yeah.
Luckily, last year I thought it was interesting because we did an event in Houston, Texas, with the Vice President of the United States that was running for presidency, and so we had to walk through the crowd of 30,000 plus people, and everybody was videoing. So there was all these videos coming out of me and the guy I work with, Rod. He was running point and I was running flank, and it was interesting because finally there was a little bit of proof, right? Because everybody's like, what do you even do?
Yeah.
And so
I got to ask because, we're talking about it, but have you had to defend? Have you had to do anything where you've taken somebody out?
I'll say this. One of the things in this industry that I find interesting, it's generally speaking, ex-military, law enforcement. And from my perspective, I haven't had the experiences they've had so I came into it very raw and real and open, more from a healed individual, because I had went through Forge and at Rise Up Kings, I had went through Refinery, Forge, even last year did Elevate Marriage. And so I had already had some time to run through these things that I was dealing with in my past, right? So I had dropped down these guards, or as I don't know, Coach John, I got to take the bomb suit off, right? What I find in this industry is most of these people, officers, can be a little rigid, and almost operate from a non-healed, or some would call have a little PTSD or something like that. And so one of the things that helps, I believe, that makes me a more well-rounded officer is the development of my soft skills. So I have the hard skills. The hard skills are, I need to choke somebody. I need to neutralize a threat. Sure, I can do it, right? Whether that be with firearm proficiency, Lord forbid that happens. Nobody wants that. Or hand-to-hand. And two, understanding the procedures on the how and when to escalate. But generally speaking, man, honestly, I try to use deflection, redirection, and de-escalation more than anything, because we're dealing with another human being, and it's like, man, when you can figure out where their come from is, and then you can come at them, most of the time you can de-escalate a situation so easy. But yes, there's been several times we were at the first one I remember, we were at a phone bank, and 4 people infiltrated the phone bank somehow from some Middle Eastern Gaza protesters. And as soon as they shut the door, I was on my way to go take, once I get them in a safe spot, I can take a break. So I was going to go to the restroom. And I go to walk out the door, and I noticed the door wouldn't turn. And I was like, what in the world? So I just turned it. And when I did, this lady in this head, I don't know what you call that. I can't remember. It's called something. Yeah, but whatever that headdress is that they cover their face with. Dude, she come through that door like a spider monkey. Like, have you ever seen Hangover with the guy jumps out the trunk? She was on my head scratching, and I was like, what is this? And sat her down outside, shut the door, and I hear, over my left ear, I hear somebody screaming in the back. And so I go back there. I grab one, another one stands up, I grab 2. I ended up having 3 girls, and they were resisting, so thankfully there was just a hallway, and so I just kind of went into old football drill and was driving them back, got them out the door. The other one tried to jump over, pushed them all out the door, and that one got a little wild when I stepped out in the hallway with them. Thankfully, there was a police officer on site, because there's always that possibility. We try to layer our security in that aspect, to where we either have another security outside or a law enforcement, sometimes 2, depending on the size of the event. And but that one was funny, because before I even got home, my wife said, the internet is blowing up. And I'm like, what? I was like, no, I can't be on my phone, I'm working. And she said, man, those ladies said you were dragging them out by the breast. And so it was this big ordeal. It was really just them resisting. It was never like they said it was. And so that was one time. And then at that big rally, there was a couple of guys, again, for whatever reason, of Middle Eastern descent, come running, and I always run flank because if a threat's going to come, it's going to hit me first, right? And so I had the husband and wife in the front of me. Rod was running point. I was in the tail. And as the guy come running, I saw him out of my right eye, and I just basically just grabbed him and spun and threw him, and we just kept walking. We didn't even stop. So outside of that, man, most of the time you can de-escalate things pretty easy.
Yeah. Jerry, I know you and I have both been impacted deeply by Rise Up Kings. How has that, impacted how you, we've kind of alluded to it a little bit, but how has that impacted how you go about your daily activities, like with protecting people? And
yeah.
You're obviously very evangelistic. So talk to us about the impact that's had on you.
Yeah, man, I would say it has quite literally changed me at the core level. And I like to think of this idea, and something that I just ponder. I have a lot of time to think when I'm driving or just being around people, because they don't want to talk to me that much. So I get to sit in a lot of quiet time of reflection. And what I've kind of come to realize is the Bible actually talks about how he knew the hairs on our head even in the womb, right?
Yep.
So if that's the case, then he knew who he wanted us to be. Now, obviously, once we come into the world, so he had a plan in the beginning. Once we come into the world then starts to have an effect, whether that's your parents, of blind things that they only know what they learned from their parents, right?
Yeah.
They also battle their own issues, but that gets imprinted on us, or it got imprinted on me. And then at some point, it then becomes my responsibility to start that walk of, in my case, figuring out how to redirect back to, I believe, what the Lord wanted originally. And so with Ruck, Refinery kind of knocked the bark off. Forge got down to the core. And then there was even this idea of, okay, we're down to the core. There still is a time of rebuild that takes exercise. It takes a time. It's like when I went through the Lyme disease with my physical, I got down to 155 pounds.
Sheesh. And
I was skin and bones, man. I look back at pictures, I'm like, man, I look like I had cancer or something. And then now I'm back up to around 200, and I've not missed a day at the gym for 2 years. 6 days a week. And so that being the case, it's the same thing spiritually. It's the same thing mentally, right? Whatever you've went through, depending on how long that was, there has to be a season of change. It's not a flip of the switch and it's done. There's going to be time where people have to relearn you. People have to relearn this new person. And so, man, the biggest thing that it's helped me with in the security industry is having the knowledge of the psychological side of things.
Yeah.
The psychological side of trauma response. So why is this person yelling at me? What is their come from? What's going on here? Why are they so mad? Like, what are they mad at? And then probably the most profound thing that's helped me in my all four pillars, faith, family, fitness, and finance, is other people's response doesn't dictate how I show up. I get to show up in authenticity, right? Yeah. I get to show up with who I am, and who I am is good enough. It's not going to be for everybody, but it is good enough. And that's probably been some of the biggest things I've learned from Ruck.
Jerry, is there anything we haven't talked about today that gets you fired up?
Man, a lot of things get me fired up, man. I'm a high eye on the DISC assessment.
Yeah, you are.
I'm pretty passionate about a lot of things. I would say that if I had one piece of knowledge that I wish more people knew, it's get real with your trauma. Like, get real with it. Because, man, I spent a lot of years trying to drink it away, drug it away, woman it away, you name it. I've tried to drown it in every capacity. Yeah. And so where I've landed, and by saying that, I'll say this. I believe as Christians, there's a misconception somewhere. I believe I believe that we've missed it somewhere. Because in the scriptures, Jesus said, my burden is easy and my yoke is light. No, I don't know a soul that talks about Christianity as being easy and light.
Yeah.
I've actually heard preachers from the pulpit say that Christianity is not, that when you come to Christ, it's not hard, it's impossible. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Where does it say that? Right?
Yeah.
So I wonder, is it Jesus's impossible? Or is it Christianity that's impossible? You track that?
Yeah.
Is it our influence that makes it impossible?
Yeah.
Because
we overcomplicate it. Yeah.
Yeah, because he says he gives us peace that surpasses all understanding. When you can look at yourself and know who you are and not have to worry about performance by doing anything, man, it truly does get easy. I wonder what it would look like if we could truly live life by God's design, his original design.
Yeah.
All he wanted to do is walk in the cool of the evening with us. That's it. He just wanted a relationship with us. So when I think about that, I try to think about all aspects. My faith, my family, my fitness, my finance. Fitness is easy when you just go.
Yeah.
When you realize that that's the answer, there is no taking off, and that's just what it is, well, then it's not hard.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But when we start thinking about, I'd just rather sit on the couch and have a cold glass of iced tea and maybe watch a Netflix and chill, well, that's when it gets hard because you're fighting yourself. But when you just realize that's the answer. And I think if you can use that concept, I know for me, when I've used that concept with my wife, it's like I have to be for her. I got to be for her what she needs.
Yeah.
So many years I tried to do it how I needed. I tried to show her love how I needed to feel love. Well, that's not reality. I need to show her love how she needs love.
Yeah.
Is that you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
And I think we mix those concepts up sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's like what I've experienced even in church is though we're saved by faith, not by works, lest any man should boast. Yet there's a lot of works that happens that you seem to be pressured to do a lot of things. It's like, wait a minute, is that the right answer? I don't know. So that's kind of where I've landed, and I think I would say that's when you be able to look yourself in the mirror and know your flaws, know where your insecurities are, and deal with them. Like truly sit with them and deal with them, right? And I mean, if you can just believe that the Jesus way is light and easy, man, that's changed my whole last 2 years.
That's awesome. Jerry, if people want to learn more about who you are and what you do, where can they go?
Man, that's a great question. I honestly at the moment don't have any platforms. I purposely, and I'll tell you why. I started a ministry called The Crossroads. I do have a Facebook page, The Crossroads is what it's called. And I set out and was doing some type of teaching every single day. But what I realized was my come from was not right. I wasn't doing it. I wasn't doing it in the right way. And so I kind of unplugged, not from the Lord, but just from all social media, to be honest with you. I haven't been on social media hardly at all in about a year and a half probably now. And I don't know. There's probably going to be something coming out soon. I've considered doing something similar like a podcast but in the moment right now, I don't feel like that's where it's headed. I think the Lord's got me in this season of, I really feel more evangelical right now. You know, when it says go spread the word into all four corners of the earth, I wonder if there's corners that only I can reach. I don't know, but maybe. Or maybe there's people. That's been an interesting, going back to the security thing, is working for the Democratic Party, which is pretty well known for leaning left. And man, I've had some of the most beautiful conversations with gays, lesbians, transgenders, and I wouldn't have had those same, I wouldn't have been in those situations had I not followed this path, had I not been obedient to the Lord's path, right? And so, yeah, man, honestly, anybody can reach me on my cell phone anytime. Text me or my email, jerryjones.psg@gmail.com. That's probably about it, really, for right now.
All right, Jerry. Well, thanks so much for joining. Don't go anywhere because I want to keep chopping it up, but thanks so much for joining us on the podcast.
You bet. You bet. Thank you.